Okay, here's another quick video. I'm going to show you why whether you use these or these running pliers. When you use them to snap glass and you have a curve in the glass, you don't want to flip your running pliers upside down, because what you're doing, you're creating a stress point in the top of this glass where the score is. That it will affect the surface of the glass, creating a weak spot. For example, you have a curve, like that, like that, like that. It's shown to go ahead and start your score. Start the run, just like that. You hear the run started, and then go to the other side. This is just glass trickery. You really shouldn't be flipping glass around. You should just finish the score. The best way doing that is to actually score next to this, so you have a clean break. But we're going to expose the trick. You want to you start your run. You can see the runs here and the other ones here. So what you want to do is break this off, which I showed you. You can use these as a snapping tool if you press very gently. That's another fallacy. These running pliers, you shouldn't be using them to break glass in a normal sense, even the bigger running pliers, because you can't get a good feel for what's going on. But right here, you could see that the score went right across. It's completely right to the other side. You can actually see the glass starting to separate. And what the trick they show you is take your running pliers, flip them upside down, and squeeze down gently till you hear a pop. Now, I'll show you with these. The thing is, with the running pliers, the curve on the bottom is pushing the score up, separating the top of the score. That's on the surface of the glass. That you want to have as clean as possible, so you don't have issues with your glass having little spider flaws in it or weak areas that may crack if you apply heat to the glass with an iron. So the idea of flipping the runner over, this top area, which was the bottom, is now going to push your score downward, okay? And what that's doing is it's creating a pinching effect on the top of the glass. And that's going to, maybe not visible, but that's going to send out little flaws on the top of that clean score you made that you want to retain for a good cut. So flipping upside down is a really bad idea. It's only designed for trickery, to show glass tricks, which I could probably do it. Just give a little pop. See a little pop. It popped it. See, now what I was explaining is this glass is now tilted upward in this angle. So the glass, instead of breaking downward, which had stress on it in this area and these areas, it's very hard to break it that way. Not hard. You could still do it. You could still follow along and snap it correctly. Or better yet, use a relief cut. The bottom line is, when you start forcing the glass this way, you're causing stress here, 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 that may, I'm not saying it will, but it makes it more probable that you're going to have issues after you copper foil and solder. You're going to have little spider flaws here that you don't want. You don't want to start soldering your work and have to deal with cracks unneeded. So what you want to do, as I was saying, what you want to do, if you have these type of cuts, rounded, in, out, in, see the score there, and say this is the piece you want. What you want to do, I mean, you could do very close, like a smooth edging. What that'll do is it'll allow you to break off the glass, retaining this, without issues of that pinching I talked about. So here, and it's not a matter of saving a little glass. I mean, you would save if you keep, trying to break this in one shot and causing those spider flaws. But in the long run, you're hurting yourself, because if that does break or cause an issue later, you're wasting even more glass. So here you want to, you start. You could see your run started, and again, there's no reason to go to the other side unless you're going to be playing glass games, trickery. This is all for showboating, right? You start that run, and the run's here. That here, when you go to break this now, that little break off here is intentional. Reason why, because that's where normally you would have that stress pushed against this piece that you don't want. And so it broke off, which is good. You want that. And then right now you retained a really smooth score. And where that break off was, you can see, you don't want to go across the top. You kind of go to the side and back with carborundum. I just wanted to point that out because it's another issue with glass cutting that really should be addressed, about avoiding these small spider flaws. And if you just want to make videos to show glass trickery, you know what? That's fine. The point is, we're here to cut glass successfully, not to play games with it. All right, so I just want to, a single curve, typically you won't have that issue. It's that double curve. It's when you go down, and you come down, out, in, being that glass is flat, when you try to break it, it's going to have a binding issue that prevents you from breaking the glass. Here you got the score started. Now what you could do is just keep continuing with your break. If it does break off, correct it, grab it with your regular breaking pliers, to finish up the score properly. And you'll never have to worry about the spider flaws you get from the glass binding. It's really, really important. It's not worth doing the trickery. Flip them around. It's not really a good idea. And I explain why. And it's not only makes sense, it's a science fact that the glass, if you start trying to break it in an unintended direction like this, you're causing the glass to bind, which when pressure goes together and the tops of the score put pressure against each other, you're causing issues on a score that should be nice and smooth. One other small thing, there was talk about the carbide wheels getting dull, and the misconception is that when you do a score, right, and then if you score over your score like that just the nature of scoring over your score is going to dullien your cutter. It's not going to dullien your cutter. What dullens your cutter, dropping it on the floor, which, if you want to talk about heavy ends, this is probably the heavy end. Oh, it could be this side. But you don't want to drop your cutter on a cement floor. Don't worry about the overlapping of score. That's not going to make your cutter dull. I mean, it's probably going to eventually make it duller in years, but never be the reason why your cutter goes dull. Now here, the reason why I did a double score, you did one, say I wanted this piece here. I wanted this piece. So when you do a double score, when you break off the first area, like this, see that it ran through there, you could snap it. When you break that off, it gives you a really nice, clean edge on the second one. You find it, it's right here. So what happens is the score and the score, you're going to give you a nice defined edge here, the semi-point. That's why you do that double score. And the reason why I bring that up is because after discussing double scoring, they're talking about doing that, scoring over. Yeah, that's not going to dullien your cutter. It'll dullien it somewhat, maybe over years and years of doing that. The bottom line is nobody's going to score more than once. No one's going to be doing this. You just don't do that. The end result of doing that is going to make it harder to break your glass. So you want to avoid double scoring. There's no reason for it. And to say don't double score because it's going to dullien your glass, that's like a 1% half truth to the matter. The main reason is you're not going to break your glass. You do one score and break it. You try to score 2 or 3 times thinking you're going to get deeper. You're going to get deeper into the glass, but you're causing a situation where the tension of the glass is traveling in all kinds of directions, and it's like fighting against itself, trying to, snap correctly. Because part of snapping glass is actual releasing of the stress that the glass is under. So when you score glass, and if you leave it without breaking, it'll start chipping up. Because what's going on, the glass is under stress, and you're breaking the surface tension, which allows you to successfully, break that score. That's what's going on. That's why you don't want to score in the same spot. And it's not going to make you cutter duller. If if I started scoring on a carborundum stone, or on a sharpening stone, or on hitting metal nails that are in your bench top, or dropping it on the concrete, that's going to dullien your cutter. As well, just leaving your cutter out in the open air is going to dullien it by the nature of oxidation on the point of the of the carbide wheel. So you always want to put your cutter in a container that has a little bit of mineral spirits mixed with a 3-in-1 oil or sewing machine oil. The other thing you can use is lamp oil, which is paraffin. Baby oil is made from paraffin oil. The oils you buy, the non-toxic, water-soluble cutting oils you spend a lot of money on, and stained glass distributors, it's basically paraffin oil. That's all it is, paraffin oil. You can buy a big bottle used for oil lamps, a couple of dollars, and it lasts you forever. It also holds up well in your oil cutters. The paraffin oil is thicker than, say, a mineral spirits, which is more fluid. So that's why they use that paraffin oil. And, no one's going to tell you that. That's what's going on. So baby oil, lamp oil, all works great for these oil cutters. If you're going to just cut glass with a hand cutter, inside you could put paper towels or cotton swabs down there. Always leave the wheel inside oil when you're letting it sit. Don't let it sit out in the open like that. Like I did with this. Just always leave it with a little oil on the end. That's why, as well, every cutter you use, even a non-oil type, this has no reservoir. Always dip the cutter. I see folks showing this specific cutter, the Cobalt, which has a great wheel. It's carbide. It's a small wheel, which is great for turns, and it's not as sharp as, say, your Toyos and all the others. So this will actually cut through your harder glass because the honing angle is not as severe. So, and a lot of folks cut pushing, which I can too. I just choose to draw. I get a lot more success with it. But the thing is, again, if you're gonna leave these cutters out, don't leave them out on the bench. If you never use oil, because I see folks that show these videos, they never dip this in oil. So I dip it in oil, so that oil's on it. So if I leave it out, it's fine. It's not going to get ruined. So if you use a non-self-lubricating cutter, always dip your cutter in oil. This is straight 3-in-1 oil right here. This wheel will never have an issue because it's coated in oil. And don't be afraid of getting oil on your wheels. You really need it. As well, with the silver schnitz, these cutters come with cotton on the bottom of these holders. The wheel will actually sit in, which is good, and this keeps the moisture off. Just humidity alone will cause oxidation to these wheels. So your carbide wheel, it's not going to fail from scoring crisscross on your glass. That's not going to, don't be afraid of doing that, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually a good way to cut glass. You don't want to leave your non-oil cutters out. If you can find one of these cutter caps, which are really nice to have, they also protect the wheel. Right, this is a standard Toyo pencil cutter. I put that on. I don't put it on there, to prevent nicking or bumping. I put it on there to keep the moisture off that wheel. Right? Because this is, I believe it is an oil cutter. Yeah, it is an oil cutter. And it depresses. But just be careful what you hear and see on YouTube. I mean, I am straightforward. I give reasoning. and logic with science and a lot of common sense. Right? So, again, practice good cutting. Avoid flipping that. Don't do that. It's really a bad thing. That's almost as bad as tapping your glass. Probably worse than tapping your glass. So don't flip over your runner. That's all designed for glass trickery. Show and tell and say, oh, look at that. The crowd goes crazy. That's what that's for. So just don't do it. In the real world, you're never gonna do that, and if you do that, you're gonna risk marring up your good score. Okay? Very important. I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit the subscribe button, or hit the join my channel. And it's a very low membership fees. You get a lot of perks, and you're gonna support my channel, which I'm gonna do more of these type of videos. All right. With that, have a nice day and happy glassing.